Hello and welcome to Z. In this episode, we are traveling to Spain, Ibiza. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. Let's feel the beauty of Ibiza together. Ibiza is a Spanish island in the Mediterranean Sea off the Iberian Peninsula's eastern coast. It is located 150 kilometers, 93 miles, from Valencia. It is the third largest of Spain's Balearic Islands. Ibiza town, Santa Eulalia de Riu, and Sant Antoni de Portmany are its major settlements. Sa Taliasa, or Sa Talaia, is its highest point, rising 475 meters, 1,558 feet above sea level. In the summer, Ibiza is well renowned for its nightlife and electronic dance music club scene, which draw a considerable number of tourists. The government of the island and the Spanish Tourist Office have collaborated to promote more family-friendly tourism. Ibiza has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Pine Islands, or Pitiusas, refer to Ibiza and the neighboring island of Formentera to the south. Ibiza is the official Catalan name. Its Spanish name is Ibiza. The name is commonly spoken in a way that approximates the peninsular Spanish variant, whereas American English is closer to the Latin American Spanish variant, and so on. The island was named Ibosum by Phoenician colonists. It was later called as Eleusis by the Romans. Pitiusae, pine-covered islands, were the Greek names for the two islands of Ibiza and Formentera. This Greek root is preserved in the Catalan and Spanish names Pitiusas and Pitiusas. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the island was known as Ibiza to the British, particularly the Royal Navy. History. Phoenician settlers established a harbor in Ibiza around 654 BC. With the decline of Phoenicia following the Assyrian invasions, Ibiza was taken over by Carthage, another former Phoenician colony. The island produced dye, salt, garum, fish sauce, and wool. After 400 BC, the whole of the Balearic Islands entered Ibiza's commercial orbit with a shrine to the goddess Tanit constructed in the cave at Esquirem. Ibiza was a vital commercial center on the Mediterranean trade routes. Ibiza began developing its own trading outposts along the neighboring Balearic island of Majorca, such as Na Guardis and Na Galera, where many Balearic mercenaries, no doubt as slingers, were hired on to fight for Carthage. The island was attacked by the two Scipio brothers, Publius and Gnaeus, during the Second Punic War in 217 BC, but remained loyal to Carthage. With the Carthaginian troops failing on the Iberian mainland, the retreating Carthaginian general Mago utilized Ibiza to gather supplies and men before sailing to Minorca and then to Liguria. In 205 BC, Ibiza negotiated an advantageous compact, Foedus, with the Romans, which saved the island from further destruction and allowed it to keep its Carthaginian Punic institutions, traditions, and even coinage well into the Empire period, when it became an official Roman municipality. Following the fall of the Western Roman Empire and a brief period of Vandal and then Byzantine authority, the island was taken by Muslims in 902, after which the few remaining inhabitants converted to Islam and Berber settlers arrived. Ibiza came into close contact with the city of Denia, the closest port in the adjacent Iberian Peninsula, located in the Valencian community, during Islamic rule, and the two places were ruled jointly by the Taifa of Denia for a period, 11th century. In the spring of 1110, the Norwegian king Sigurd I of Norway conquered Ibiza, along with the islands of Formentera and Minorca, on his crusade to Jerusalem. In In an effort to reduce the Muslim control on the Iberian Peninsula, the monarch had earlier seized the cities of Sintra, Lisbon, and Alcácer do Sal and handed them over to Christian authorities. King Sigurd then traveled to Sicily, where he met with King Roger II of Sicily. In 1235, Aragonese King James I captured the island. Local Muslims were deported, as was the situation in nearby Majorca and elsewhere, and Christians from Girona arrived. The island retained its own self-government in various forms until 1715, when King Philip V of Spain revoked the autonomy of the local administration. The introduction of democracy in the late 1970s resulted in the Balearic Islands Statute of Autonomy. Today, the island, together with Majorca, Menorca, and Formentera, is part of the Balearic Autonomous Community. Ibiza has an unusual demographic structure, as census organizations disagree on exact data. Ibiza has 88,076 residents according to the 2001 national census, against 76,000 in 1991, 64,000 in 1981, 45,000 in 1971, and 38,000 in 1961. However, by the 2011 national census, this had risen to 133,594, and by the beginning of 2019, it had risen to 147,914. This quick expansion is due to the amnesty, which included a large number of unregistered foreign migrants. In terms of origin, approximately 55% of island residents were born on the island, 35% are domestic migrants from mainland Spain, mostly working-class families from Andalusia, with the remainder from Catalonia, Valencia, and Castile, and the remaining 10% to 15% are foreign, dual, and multinational citizens of the EU and elsewhere. The most common foreign visitors are Germans, British, Latin Americans, French, Italians, and Dutch, in that order. Miguel Roigfrankel, a Spanish composer and music theorist, was born in Ibiza, as was Abel Matutes, a politician and former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain. Spandau Ballet's Steve Norman, English punk singer John Simon Ritchie, Sid Vicious, comedy actor Terry Thomas, Hungarian master forger Elmer de Hory, and American novelists Cormac McCarthy and Clifford Irving are all former Ibiza residents. Heritage. Despite being most renowned for its nightlife, substantial areas of the island are designated as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The Renaissance walls of Ibiza City's Old Town, which were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1999, are one famous example. They are one of the few Renaissance walls in the world that have not been dismantled, and a portion of the medieval wall can still be seen. Ibizan cultural treasures include the remnants of the first Phoenician town at Saukaleta. Other areas, such as SCS Feeks' wetlands, are still under threat from developers, but this site has now been identified as a vulnerable habitat, and actions are expected to be done to safeguard this wetland. Poseidonia Oceanica, an oceanic plant, is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Tourism made its debut at DC-10, with some of Ibiza's unique nightlife characteristics at the forefront. Top dance music producers and DJs have visited the island in recent years to play at the numerous clubs while touring to other worldwide places. Some of the island's most well-known DJs host their own weekly parties. Many of these DJs utilize Ibiza to debut new songs in the electronic dance music genres of house, trance, and techno. Like Goa in India, the island has gained recognition as a cultural center for house and trance in particular, with its name frequently being used as a partly metonym for the distinct flavor of electronic music that originated there. Ibiza Rocks, a live music event, has revolutionized perceptions of the Ibiza party scene since 2005. Arctic Monkeys, Kasabian, The Prodigy, and Kaiser Chiefs have all performed in the courtyard of the Ibiza Rocks Hotel. The season typically begins at the end of May, with opening parties held at Ibiza's clubs over a 3-week period. Opening parties are usually held in conjunction with the conclusion of the International Music Summit, a 3-day conference held on the island every year since 2008. Amnesia, Privilege, Ushuaia, and High Ibiza are usually the first clubs to conduct opening parties. Almost all of Ibiza's clubs are closed during the winter and reopen the following summer. A typical itinerary for clubbers visiting Ibiza includes rising around noon, early evening naps, late-night clubbing, and disco sunrises. Ibiza has earned the moniker Gomorrah of the Mid due to its tolerance for the misbehavior of young adult travelers. Café Del Mar, a long-standing pub where many tourists traditionally enjoy the sunset made famous by Jose Padilla, who has released more than a dozen eponymous CD collections of ambient music played at the area, is also well known. After sunset, this and other surrounding bars have become more popular venues for club pre-parties, showcasing prominent DJ acts such as Patrick Topping, Carl Cox, and Green Velvet. The island's government is adopting policy adjustments to create a more sophisticated and peaceful tourism atmosphere. These include restrictions mandating all nightclubs to close by 6 o'clock at the latest and requiring all new hotels to be 5-star. The management desires a broader international mix of tourists. The island's tourism is not usually defined by its nightlife. Visitors can go hot air ballooning, surfing, seeing the Cave Can Mark, or visiting Cap Blanc's aquarium. This is all for now. Thank you for being with us.